All right, thanks for joining, everybody. I appreciate it. This is Dan Lyons at the National Weather Service in Raleigh. We're going to go through the weekly briefing for the period Thursday, October 10th to Wednesday, October 16th. And I think what you'll find here is quiet weather, which I think everybody's probably okay with at this point, given how busy things have been as of late. Let's talk about what's going on today. We got 4 weather maps on the screen here. But pay attention to the first one in the upper left. You can see in the corner there, that's where Hurricane Milton is at. It's still a hurricane as of 11 a.m. It's got 80-mile-an-hour winds. It is not going to affect our area whatsoever. We've got high pressure and control. If you were out and about earlier this morning, you probably saw quite a bit of cloud cover. That has since exited the area. That's pretty much made it all the way to Interstate 95 at this point. In its wake, sunny skies, dry conditions. Now, there is a little bit of breeziness out there. It's a pretty intense storm to our south, and when you have a pretty intense storm not too terribly far away, you can get some gusty winds from time to time, and we're going to see that persist through much of the day today. But really, outside of that, no sensible weather impacts from Milton whatsoever. The trend is going to continue of high pressure with dry weather through the weekend. We are going to see below normal temperatures today. We'll get to the upper 60s, maybe low 70s this afternoon. Much of the same tomorrow. By the time we get to the weekend, though, we will see temperatures rebound a little bit into the upper 70s, maybe even close to 80, depending on where you might be at, especially south and east of Raleigh, closer to Fayetteville and the southern coastal plain. It's going to warm up before we have another cold front move through the area on Monday, and that's what you see in the lower left panel there. That front is going to bring a substantial drop in temperatures. That front is going to be noticeable for sure when that comes through. Not much of a chance of rain with that. You don't see any green on that map in the lower left corner. If there is a stray sprinkle or shower, that's probably going to be about it. And I'll touch on precip amounts here in a couple minutes. But not really much of a weather maker when that guy comes through. It will be substantially cooler behind that, though. We're going to be looking at temperatures in the mid 60s or maybe even low 60s by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. We'll dive into that a little bit later once we get to the back half of the presentation here. Because it's high pressure and control, really not concerned about severe weather whatsoever at any point all the way through next Thursday. So pretty straightforward there. Here's the precip amounts that I was talking about. So when you look at the top 3, today, Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday, nothing across the state of North Carolina. When you look at Monday, you start to see a few real splotchy areas of green. And boy, it's a stretch to even pick them out. Maybe something near Elizabeth City, maybe, Goldsboro, maybe those areas. But boy, this is a real stretch to find any precip with that front when that comes through on Monday. If anything, maybe there'll be some showers across South Carolina, maybe into Georgia, but across here, if we have a 5 to 10% chance of rain on Monday, that's about the most we have in there. So really, precip chances are pretty much nil here. And of course, the 5-day total is not going to add up to much at all. Dry weather, probably a good thing at this point. Naturally, with no rain to speak of, there's no threat of excessive rainfall today, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. No threat of heavy rainfall whatsoever. So nothing to elaborate on there. Now, it has been dry for the past week. We haven't really got much rain whatsoever. But certainly the rainfall that we did get from Helene a little while ago, that completely eradicated any sort of drought or abnormally dry conditions that we had across the area. So even though it's been dry for the past couple days, no drought has crept back in at this point. So the whole state is drought free. Let's talk the tropics, because it's that time of year when certainly the tropics are the focus of a lot of folks' attention. Right now, of course, we talked about Milton off the east coast of Florida. That's not going to be a player here whatsoever. That's going to continue to drift off to the east. So that's not going to be a factor for North Carolina whatsoever. Leslie is still out there across the central Atlantic. That storm is forecast to curve away from the U.S., so that's not going to be a player either. And then we also have this tropical wave, which has emerged off the coast of Africa. That is going to be monitored from some development. You can see right now that's the area that's hatched in with the yellow shading there. 20% chance. We still have a lot of time to figure out what's going to happen with that storm, whether it's going to mature into a tropical storm or hurricane. Doesn't look like it's going to be a threat to North Carolina, so really nothing to worry about at this stage of the game. Got plenty of time to figure out where that storm is going to go. Let's talk about temps and precip chances with high pressure in control for much of, well, certainly through the rest of this week, into the weekend, through next week, and really for a lot of next week into next weekend as well. Chances are not really looking too good for rainfall. That's what you see on the map on the right. Probably odds tilted more toward dry conditions than wet conditions. And then when it comes to temperatures, which is on the left side of the screen, it's pretty much equal chances across the board. With high pressure and control, the odds are pretty favorable. The temps will be around normal, and then we've got the normal highs and lows on the screen for reference on the bottom there. Generally highs in the mid 70s, lows in the low 50s is what we should be seeing for mid-October. Of course, again, with high pressure and control, no weather hazard concerns really whatsoever here. I will talk about frost freeze in a minute on the last slide here, but all the other big hazards, severe thunderstorms, flooding, rainfall, all that sort of stuff, nothing across the board. The graphical hazardous weather outlook is clean. So wrapping things up here, of course, already mentioned Hurricane Milton is going to stay well to our south. The cloud cover that we had across the area has pretty much exited central North Carolina at this point. So pretty much sunny skies for the rest of the day, some breeziness through the afternoon. That'll taper off tonight. High pressure, dry weather. Temperatures will moderate a little bit this weekend. But look at those numbers, through the weekend. We're still not talking anything that's significantly above normal. We said normal this time of the year is mid 70s. We're going to get to the upper 70s. Not shown on here are the forecast high temperatures for Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, which is when we'll see highs struggle to get out of the low to mid 60s. So that will certainly feel much cooler. And then also not shown on here are the morning lows, especially across the North Carolina, Virginia border area. It's entirely plausible that some of those spots could get down into the upper 30s, maybe even mid 30s in some of the protected low-lying areas. Roxborough comes to mind. They're a typical cold spot up in that part of our forecast area. So I would not be surprised if some patchy frost starts to enter the forecast at some point early next week.